Hello my fellow Archons and welcome to another video. I have another Winds of Exchange deck here for you. This one is called Mahuil Yanovsky Espek Abductor with houses Starlines, Ecodon, and Unfathomable. And I just want to show this one to you guys because the Unfathomable house in particular is absolutely bonkers. So without further ado, let's start looking at this deck. Alright, so this deck has houses Starlines, Ecodon, and Unfathomable. And the token creature for this deck is Bot, 1 power, action, use a friendly non-Starlines creature for some of that house cheating. And he actually is not bad. I sort of enjoy him. But without further ado, why don't we start out with the Unfathomable house, just since that has all the crazy stuff in it. We're starting off with a Kelp Minder with a capture enhancement on it, Guiltspine Netcaster with a draw, Guiltspine Netcaster with a draw and a capture, Frigorific Rod, double. An absolutely busted card here. This card is just insane. Abyssal Sight, destroy friendly creature. If you do, look at your opponent's hand and choose a card from it. That player discards that card. So literally, destroy friendly creature, and then you take whatever piece of Ember control they might have, discard it. Take whatever piece of board control they might have, discard it. I mean, pretty much anything that you don't want to see, you can get rid of with this card. Dragnet, return a creature and each neighbor that shares a house with it to their owner's hands. This card is actually really nice if you need to clear off the opponent's board a little bit. It works for that, but also if you have like a token creature down that you want to put back into your hand to like use as its actual card, that would work as well. And in fact, that's what I actually used it for at one point. So it's a pretty versatile card. Illusions of Grandeur. Okay, so now we're getting into the crazy stuff. We have Illusions of Grandeur, double pip, and then a second copy of Illusions of Grandeur. This one with just 1 pip, but we have 2 copies of Illusions here. And now we have the Chosen One with a capture, but not just one Chosen One, but 2 copies of the Chosen One. 2 massive 9 power creatures enhanced with a capture reading. Instead of readying creatures they control during their ready card step, your opponent deals 1 damage to the Chosen One for each exhausted creature they control. So in this deck we have, there's also Rustmiser with a draw, but I think this is really the star of the deck right here. Double the Chosen One, double Illusions of Grandeur. Now, I was looking on decks of KeyForge, and I know decks of KeyForge doesn't have every single deck ever registered, or every single deck out there registered to it. But when I was looking on there, I didn't see any other decks out there with 2 copies of the Chosen One and 2 copies of Illusions of Grandeur. This appears, for now, to be the only deck with 2 copies of each, which is really exciting. And this Unfathomable pod is just absolutely ridiculous for having those cards in it. Yeah, I was super pumped when I opened up this crazy Unfathomable pod. It's definitely something I might consider throwing into like a Winds of Exchange Alliance deck if I was ever to construct one of those. Moving on to the Star Alliance, we have Teamwork, make a token creature. If there are more enemy creatures than friendly creatures, archive Teamwork. Scout Chief Courageer, play make a token creature. After fight, after rate, make a token creature. This one is enhanced with a capture bonus pip, but this deck actually has 3 copies of Scout Chief Courageer for some real token creature generation. It can pump out the token creatures pretty quick. Friendly Guide, who's elusive. After you use one of Friendly Guide's neighbors, you may use Friendly Guide, which is pretty cool. Echo Reflector with 2 Ember. This creature gains your opponent's keys cost +3. And now this is the card that I actually used Dragnet on at one point, because this card was actually a token creature, so I used Dragnet to put it back in my hand, so I had it for later, which actually came in clutch later on in the game. Seer Officer Hawkins, SV3 Lander, some more token creature generation, and then you can use them on an off turn. Ganymede Outpost, action, put a friendly creature on the bottom of its owner's deck. If you do, archive 2 cards. Detention Coil, Badge of Unity, this creature belongs to House Star Alliance in addition to its other houses. Sort of reminds me of Diplomat Agung in that sense, but can provide some house cheating, and also gives 1 single creature 2 houses, which can actually result in some pretty cool scenarios. And then, Hapless Cadet, a legendary rare from Mass Mutation, 3 power taunt, destroyed your opponent, loses 3 Ember. So use this destroyed effect on something like Abyssal Sight. Play Abyssal Sight, destroy your Hapless Cadet, make them lose 3 Ember, and then to add insult to injury, put a card from their hand into their discard pile. So I really like this card. All right, and now moving on finally to the Ecodon, we have the Visible Hand. Make 2 token creatures, reveal your hand to your opponent. Steward Su Uziane. This is where some of those extra bonus Ember are coming from. We have Higher On, make a token creature. If there's a combined total of 6 Ember or more between both players' pools, archive it. We have Belligerent Guard, 8 power, enters play ready, and then your opponent draws a card when you play him. This deck happens to have 3 copies of Belligerent Guard, so that's some major firepower coming from the Equidon house. Albeit, yes, your opponent does get to draw cards whenever he enters play, or whenever you play him. But just the fact that you have 3 8-power creatures on the board that enter play ready in an Equidon house is pretty impressive. We have Auction Off, purge an artifact, its controller gains 1. So it kind of reminds me of Reclaimed by Nature. Maybe slightly weaker than Reclaimed by Nature, although it's still some really solid artifact control. And also it was pointed out recently in the Discord that apparently this is the Skeleton Key. So we have Skeleton Key, the artifact in Shadows that is getting auctioned off by this Equidon guy. And I thought that was kind of cool. Uncommon Currency, action, swap control of uncommon currency and an enemy artifact. So kind of artifact control in a sense. I mean, because you're giving them an artifact that hopefully they won't be able to use in exchange for an artifact that hopefully you will be able to use. Or if not, hopefully just an artifact that you want to get away from them. Pull up stakes, shuffle 2 friendly creatures into their owner's decks, return 4 enemy creatures to their owner's hands. So that's some really solid bounce control there. This deck happens to have 2 copies of them. Equidgy Outpost, action, put a friendly creature on the bottom of its owner's deck if you do draw 3 cards for some of that efficiency. And lastly, some Ember control in the form of Gazdrutio the Arcane, action, steal 2 Ember, flip the Arcane face down. It becomes a token creature, which is a really interesting card design. One of the very few cards that gets flipped over to become a token creature like that. I can't actually think of any off the top of my head that also do that. But he's a pretty neat card. So I mean, yeah, so overall, this deck has some really cool and fun things going for it. The triple Belligerent Guard, triple Scout Chief Corrigier. I mean, this deck pumps out token creatures pretty consistently, pumps out those bots for some of that house cheating. But it's really just this Unfathomable pod that really jumps out. Lots of enhancements, as you can see here. The double Frigorific Rod, but really, that double Chosen One is just crazy. Ideally, the opponent will just never be able to use their board. I mean, because this is like 18 damage total that'll have to get spread out among these 2 Chosen Ones. I mean, that is, if you play one down, it gets destroyed, then you get to play down another one later on. And that's 18 power that has to be dealt just to get these guys off the board and allow the opponent to ready any of their creatures. And then the double Illusions of Grandeur. Just some of that, hopefully force them into a house. It has that Ember control, has plenty of pips, has some efficiency, has some firepower with the triple Belligerent Guard, makes token creatures pretty consistently. Obviously bot and cards like Badge of Unity has a lot of that nice house cheating. And overall, there's some burst, like with all the Ember enhancements, the Seer Officer Hawkins, being able to steal 2 with the Arcane dude over here. So yeah, this deck is so much fun. But you guys, I want to hear your thoughts on this deck. If you have any, in the comments below. If you see any cool synergies that I possibly have missed. But yeah, that's all I have for today. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I hope you guys all had a great Thanksgiving, if that's something you guys celebrate. See you in the next one.